it's crazy. It really is crazy how everywhere is just, and it's not to make people scared. The toxins that we face every day, it's real. And the more we can do to mitigate it and not, again, be fearful, because we do have God and we need to lean on God, but it's about being aware. You know, it's about knowing so that you can do better.
Welcome back to Christ Coffee and Conspiracy. We are so happy to have you with us today. I'm Leigh Ann. This is Sheri. We are going to be talking to you today about skincare products and how they are very, very toxic for us. But you're also going to find us, as usual, going down other rabbit holes, talking more about what the FDA does and doesn't allow. Really, there's not much to that, but we're going to feed you some information. We're also going to drop a lot of links in the description below. So stay tuned and enjoy the show.
Yeah, I don't look at it. I guess I don't look at it as a fear thing. It's more of a knowledge. And knowledge to me is power if you take action.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I know. I've heard the argument, and it's been a while since I've heard the argument, but you know, God made man with brains, God made all the things of the earth, God made this, you know. So I mean, there's always that argument, but the reality is God didn't make a lot of the things that we are exposed to every day. We are exposed to many man-made things, and man is influenced by demonic influence on a consistent basis. So keep that in mind. We're always being pulled away from the things that God made to make us more impure. So
yeah, and unfortunately, and I don't know, I can't say, you know, I say I would never do something for a price, but it's like everybody has a price that they might do something for, you know, that they could be bought for. And a lot of it's bought, a lot of it, you know, and then a lot of companies just don't even know, you know, like the cups, they don't know that what they're handing out is potentially hurting people, because they've done studies where, you know, in the breast milk of a breastfeeding mother, or when somebody has breast cancer and they remove the breast and they, you know, biopsy it or whatever, that they find plastics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
I know. It does make me really sad, though. Yeah, I on the conspiracy side of it, I think that it's the part that bothers me the most is like the FDA just approves this stuff. There's no real studies that have to be done anymore. I mean, if you look at the episode we did a couple of weeks ago on the shots, the vaccines, like they don't require case studies for that stuff. The Alzheimer's drugs that get released on a consistent basis, they don't require, you know, the FDA said you still have to do, on this last one that came out, the FDA said you need to do a third case study on it. I don't know what consisted of that third case study other than 18 patients died that were a part of that study, and the FDA released it for general sale as a pharmaceutical this year. And I had more people, as a brain health expert, texting me about this brand new innovative drug, and I was just so sad that, you know, that they would do this. So yes, there's definitely some people at a very higher echelon, but I agree with you that a lot of people that are just your everyday consumers, or even the people who own the businesses that are using the products, don't know what they're doing.
They don't know. No, they don't know. And are there products out there that are affordable for them to use? Because there's another thing, you know, with small businesses, you know, they're trying to make some type of profit so they can keep, you know, going and making money for their families, and, you know, providing jobs for people. And, you know, it's like they're caught in a hard place, even if they do know the information.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as the testing goes, it's like the wolf guarding the hen house, because they do their own testing a lot of times, and it's like, okay, and what are you going to report? Because if you go back and you look at what happened in the last 3 years, They didn't even want to release the studies.
I know.
They did not even want to release the studies. And when they did, and people started investigating them, it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. But they put their little, the FDA, lets them do their little testing, and then they mark it as generally regarded as safe, or GRAS is what they call it, GRAS. And it's like, so if you see something as GRAS or generally regarded as safe, I would question that.
Oh yeah.
I would look at it, and seriously, with everything that's happened in the last 3 years, I think just being observant and looking, and maybe sitting back and taking a look before you jump.
Yeah. Yeah. The hardest thing,
if it sounds really good, it's probably not.
right? If you can't pronounce the ingredients on it,
Oh God.
it's probably, I mean, really. So Tyler and I are really particular about, obviously what we're going to put on our skin. Like, I buy the most natural makeup that I can possibly buy, but even soaps, like, it is so hard at the natural grocery store that we shop at here. It is so hard to find soaps that don't have lye in them. And lye is not necessary for soap, but it's really hard to find a soap. We finally have found a couple that we use. And I've looked into making, actually, I've said I'm going to look into making soaps, because I already make or lotion, but I haven't gotten that far yet. But we have finally found some. But it's interesting to me that it's not even just the lye, it's all the other chemicals. Why? Soap is not an edible product. It's a shelf-stable product. It's a product that's used if you're taking a shower once a day, if not twice a day. It's a product that's used relatively quickly. Why do we need all of these preservatives that are chemical and harmful to our skin and absorbed into our skin in something that we wash our bodies with every day? Same with lotions. So it blows my mind. It blows my mind. So for me, I used to drink Diet Cokes years and years ago. I mean, I haven't had Cokes in years, but Diet Coke has sodium benzoate in it. And every time I would drink anything diety, or sometimes it was stevia sweetened drinks too, if it had that sodium benzoate in it, I would get the most horrible breast tenderness. Like, they would hurt for days.
Oh wow.
And as soon as I'd stopped drinking something that had that in it, and I'd done a little bit of Google searches and saw that sodium benzoate can cause, I don't know if it was breast pain or what I found, but that's what I attributed it to. Then I find it in skincare products too. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, oh, so yeah, it just, the skincare industry makes me sad too. And then, so I know my body butter I sell on the shelf at one store up here, but I do recognize that a lot of companies, and I don't know if they're selling to multiple companies, but they'll put not FDA approved on their containers. I don't know if that's a requirement or not. You may know. I don't put it on my stuff, but I also sell primarily through my own online store. But I would never, ever, ever buy something that was FDA approved at this point in my life.
I think it's, it should have like a caution sign next to it, FDA approved caution sign.
Right.
At one point, maybe they did something good. I don't know. But I think the other thing that, I heard somewhere along the line, and it's true. It's like, what you put on your body is going in your body. So if you wouldn't eat it, then you probably don't want to put it on your body. So there are a lot of, you've probably seen this too with the beauty care products, there's a lot of seed oils in those products as well. And so that is causing inflammation in your body. Even though you're putting it on your body, it is absorbing into your body. So if it's not good for you, on the outside or on the inside, then don't put it on the outside too. And the same, like with what you said, it's with food, if you can't pronounce it, same with your personal care products. It's an environmental working group. It has a really, and think Dirty is another one. I find that you have to maybe go to the point of paying on that one to get really good information. But environmental working group, I challenge you to go through and take some of your beauty care products and go look them up on the environmental working group and the personal care products. And you can go down to the shampoo or whatever and see how they rate, because you'll be probably horrified with some of them. And just know that you're putting that in your body.
Yeah.
So, and when you're in the shower and you're taking a shower, some of those things they're aerolizing into the air because of the steam and whatnot, and you're breathing it in as well. So it's getting into your lungs.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's the same with the chlorine and fluoride that's in the water. It's, aerolizing into your body. But yeah, so think about some of those different things. As far as with I stepped back from using bar soap a while ago, and I just use a Castile soap, and I make my own bottle of soap every so often. My husband actually does the same thing, and we just use the Castile soap, put some jojoba oil in it, some water, and that's it. That's all it is. And don't think I'm stinky. I don't know.
Well, I've spent time around you. I know that you're not.
I don't think I am.
Well, that's the thing,
If I
right?
am, my husband is too, and
The fragrance that they put in soap is just as toxic as the chemicals that they're putting in soap. And if you haven't seen or heard any of the latest studies, which I found one from 2018 that I sent some ladies at work because they had these fragrance pods everywhere, and it was just destroying all the people who are very sensitive to fragrances. And so I'd sent the article to the ladies in that office because I was literally walking out with headaches every day because those fragrances were so strong. But yeah, the fragrances are highly toxic to us. They are so, first of all, they really create sensory problems. Like for me, even my perfume now is almost too much for me, but I'm going to finish it because it was expensive. But so you're inhaling it. So it's causing all this sinus problems. Like I said, I was getting headaches all the time, but if you're putting them on your skin, in the soaps, in the lotions, in the body washes, in the perfumes, I usually spray my perfume on my clothes, but if you're putting it on your skin is absorbing it. And yeah, so fragrances are now being linked to cancers, to cognitive decline, to all kinds of neuro problems, because when you smell them, those scents go straight up into the bloodstream. So I don't know. If you're putting it on your body, it's that much worse.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the different things, if you look at the different ingredients and you look up what they are, a lot of them are endocrine disruptors or hormone disruptors. And, and people are like, well, I don't plan on having any more babies. So what difference does it make? Well, you don't want your hormones out of balance either, because they're very important to your well-being as a whole, not just reproductive. So, think about that also. When you're looking up, like I said, on EWG or Environmental Working Group, I think it's ewg.org. Look at what it is that they're saying, why it's toxic, and get to know some of those products or the chemicals or ingredients in those products, because and the food dyes, that's another one. They will, think about it. Lipstick is going to probably have, not probably, there are more natural ones, but red lipstick probably has red dye 40 in it if it's not a more healthier version of the lipstick. So they're everywhere. And I think, I don't know what you found on this, but I think there is like 11 ingredients that the FDA does not allow in our products in the US.
Oh,
in the European
a whole
Union,
whopping 11.
11. At least that's what it was. Now, maybe they've added some. I hope they have. But in the European Union, there's like, I saw anywhere from 1,100 to 1,300 different ingredients that are not allowed. So think about that. Why? Why is that?
Yeah.
And again, if it's the same as food, if they are making the same product for the US and for Europe, they've got to make it different. So why not? How is that cost effective? It can't be. It can't be to have two different methods of making a product. Do you find that, Leigh Ann? Would you would you want to make two different products? It's probably not cost effective. So
Yeah.
why
No,
are
it's
they
still
doing
11
that?
ingredients, by the way.
That's kind of what I figured. So yeah, and they're putting the preservatives in there, same as food, the DHA, BHT.
Yeah. Yeah. If you go look at, I mean, there's tons of people out there, and I've got study references here that I'm going to link into our comments below, or the description below. But there are so many studies out there about this stuff, and the problem is, I think that the hardest part is that the lobbying community and the marketing community does such an incredible job that people don't want to dive into that. I have a girlfriend who always says, I'm never going to want to know that much. I'm just going to live my life. And I think that there are a lot of people like that. And you know what? And that's your choice. It really is your choice. And
Yep.
the chances of you getting cancer or dementia are probably they're greater for sure if you're continuing to use those products, but there's no telling if you're going to get any sort of a responsive disease to the products that you're using. But my question would be, especially if you are young enough to still have babies, or if you are someone who wants to enjoy life later in life, is why would you not take an action today that could save you, your future children, whatever, later in life? Because we are constantly exposed to toxins. It doesn't matter if you're putting them on your body or not, but if you're already being exposed to toxins when you're out in the general world, and then you're adding layer after layer through your skincare, your makeup, your food, your laundry detergent, your cups that you're drinking out of, which we'll reference that too. I mean, if everything you are doing is adding a toxin, and you look at the cancer rates and how much they've increased over the last 50 years, and you look at the autism rates, and you look at the ADHD rates, and I mean, just go look and see 50 years ago where we stood with chronic illness versus today. I know more people today in my 40s that have Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, so many digestion problems. And this was not a normal thing 50 years ago, 40 years ago. I knew no one. I knew no one that had cancer. I knew no one that had a chronic illness in my childhood. Half the people that are my age today have a chronic illness or more.
Yep.
And
It's
then
crazy.
every day I see a friend on some form of social media I was just diagnosed with. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I just
And
saw
it's getting younger and younger. The ages are getting younger and younger of the people.
Yeah.
I know people in their 30s, ladies in their 30s getting breast cancer.
Yes.
That's, yeah. My grandmother had breast cancer, and that was back in the 60s, 70s, So, when she was in her 70s, 60s and 70s. So, was that normal too? I don't know. That's when things were starting to really change, and they were starting to embrace faster foods, and because that was, you were, a higher echelon if you ate the faster foods,
Oh,
and
isn't that crazy?
it wasn't about cooking, because that's, for the peasants. It was, Be a peasant. Cook your food.
Yeah, be a peasant. I like
I
it.
cook my food. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
just
It just makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. And it is interesting. I liked what you just said about that because you do watch the ebbs and flows of things change. Like back in the Renaissance days, you didn't eat steak and shrimp. You didn't eat lobster and shrimp. You ate steak if you were a higher echelon person. And then
right.
you go to, you know, all of a sudden, bottom feeders are the best foods. Well, it's the same basic principle, I think, with everything. Today or in the early 20th century, you cooked your food, but well, actually in the 1920s and 30s during the 1920s during the big boom before the depression, everyone was out. You went out and had drinks, you went out and had food. We didn't have fast food back then, so you were still eating, cooked foods, not fried foods, but a lot of people ate out, and then so you just see this ebb and this flow, and I feel like we are in a flow of people coming more into a holistic lifestyle. There's so many blogs and YouTube channels for people who are doing everything from scratch, and I love that because it is so important. However, the fast food industry is working triple time to try and continue raising their sales. And
Yeah.
Tyler had some fries the other day that were actually fried in beef fat, which is the way that they should be fried.
Well,
And he was like, "Oh, these remind me of McDonald's French fries." But these were potatoes cut and fried in beef fat. And McDonald's, in order to make them still taste like what they used to taste like when they fried in beef fat, have 15 ingredients in them, including a beef flavor pack.
yeah.
My question about that is, how is that cheaper? How is that
Yeah.
cheaper to put all those ingredients in your French fries versus just frying them in beef fat and putting salt on them?
Mm. Real salt,
So, with the
not
conspiracy
crop
part of
salt.
that, if you want to throw a tinfoil hat on for a second, why?
Mhm.
Why have products like beef fat gotten so much more expensive so that companies like McDonald's can't or choose not to afford it anymore? I would pay $3 for a large French fry. Well, I wouldn't personally today, but at the time, I think knowing what I know today, I would pay $3 for a large French fry at McDonald's versus a dollar if I knew it was a potato fried in beef fat with salt versus what it is today. Although I just saw a thing the other day about their French fries, and their growers don't go near their fries for 5 days, or near their potatoes for 5 days after they spray the pesticide on them because it's so toxic.
Yeah. Because of the type of potato they use, because they're longer and you're talking about McDonald's, I'm assuming.
Yes, I am still talking about
Yeah,
McDonald's.
yeah. And so it's a certain russet. I think it's a russet
It's a
potato
russet.
that's grown long. Yeah. So, and it can't have those little brown specks in it because that would be not good for the consumer. And so, yeah, they go through it. Yeah, they're working with the potatoes with hazmat suits.
Yeah.
That cannot be good. I mean,
Right.
but I think, some of it too is that we don't know what we don't know.
Yes.
And so until you dig into it, and yes, if you want to live your life and not know, that is your choice.
Yeah.
We have free will. God gave us free will, but um, also, I like to tell people, it's because one of my husband's friends said to him, because he was using stevia as a sweetener as opposed to using sugar, a better choice, but his friend's like, "Oh, you want to live forever? Is that what you're, trying to do?" And it's like, it's really not about trying to live forever. It's about quality of life over quantity of life. It's about when you get older, that you're not sitting and drooling in an old folks' home. It's about having a quality life where you can be out there playing with your grandchildren or going for bike rides or whatever. I mean, I plan to be water skiing, snow skiing, whatever,
Yeah.
You don't have to slow down age is a number. If you take care of yourself, it's not like, oh, I'm old now, so I'm going to be this. No, you don't have to be.
People who embrace that mentality blow my mind. My mother was one of them. My mother was that person who had no interest in learning. I started studying nutrition back in 2008, and my mother was morbidly obese at the time and diabetic and had all kinds of problems and was drinking on a consistent basis. She was in a really toxic marriage. And, nothing I could say to her would make her wanna change her ways, nothing. I mean, she watched me get healthier through the years, and of course, I still had my ups and downs too because I was learning, but if I do anything today that would be considered a down, I do it intentionally because I say
Hmm.
intentionally because I know what I'm doing to myself today when I choose to eat
Yeah,
sugar, which I've been
sure.
off sugar now for 2 weeks and I feel amazing. But anyway, my mom is 73 years old and she's sitting in an old folks home drooling every day and has no clue who I am at 73 years old. Whereas I watched this other lady on Instagram who decided at 70 to change her life and she's fit and, super muscular today. And yeah, my mom
Hmm.
already had Alzheimer's by the time she was 70, but the point is she never cared about anything that I had learned about what she was doing to her body. She wanted no part of it. I got sober in 2006. She had no interest in that. In fact, she hated that I was sober. I started really going down this new way of eating in 2008, and she just never could go down that path, and I know that there are gonna be a lot of people out there that won't because they might think it's boring or it's too much work or I don't wanna give this up
Yeah.
or whatever. I mean, even my own husband, there are things that he doesn't wanna give up. However, he does make better eating choices
Hmm.
90% of the time. I could never even get my mom to go 60% of the time on a better eating choice, and when I tried, she just would, do something different. So the point being is, think about that for just a second. Like, my mom is 73. People are being diagnosed, like you said earlier, younger and younger with breast cancer or with cancers, but they're also being diagnosed younger and younger with Alzheimer's because we are exposed
Yeah.
to those foods, to those toxins in the womb. We are exposed to those when people are
Yeah.
eating that food and breastfeeding. We are exposed to those as we grow up and we are being fed more and more toxic foods because the food that you get off the shelf today, the Infamil and all the kids the baby foods and things like that, they are no better than anything
Mm.
that you can put that you could cook today. They're so full of fillers and pesticides and
Sugar.
preservatives and sugar, yes. And
They're
so we're
they're
being
starting to
started
hook them
out.
on sugar right away.
Yes, and so we're being started out with that addiction because it is an addiction. I don't care what anybody says. It is absolutely an addiction from birth.
Been there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's why we have a lot of children that have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's the sugar. It's
yes.
what's happening, with what they're eating, and I mean, because unfortunately, it's easier to hand them things that have the sugar in it, or if I think some of the thoughts are that it's cheaper. It's cheaper
Mhm.
not to buy healthier food. The BOGOs are going to be, or buy one get one frees are going to be crappy food, honestly,
Right.
for the most part.
Yeah.
I Yeah, and so unfortunately, children are getting a lot of sugar early, and then they're being put on, ADHD drugs because they're off the wall crazy, and yeah,
But
it's a
I
vicious
know
cycle
more
with them starting.
yeah. I know more adults today that are being diagnosed with ADHD.
Hmm. Yeah,
Why are adults suddenly being diagnosed with ADHD? Like, when did that become a thing?
right.
They
Well,
all they
because
all
it
take
wasn't it
Adderall, which
wasn't
is like,
caught.
huh?
It wasn't caught when they were younger.
Whatever. They all take Adderall too, which is like cocaine. It's so addictive. Yeah.
It helps me focus. But it's interesting though, because people who don't need that stimulant, it will work in the opposite direction also.
Yeah.
So, but because kids in college are trying to get a hold of it
I
to
know.
use it for studying purposes and whatnot. So yeah, it's yeah, I was watching a video on I think it was Steve Kirsch who was talking in front of I think he was at one of the Senate hearings or something, and he was talking about vaccines and how, with the Amish are a great case study for this because most of them are not vaccinated as children or vaccinated, period. And they have like just about zero autism, ADHD, any of these issues. And they can't find a child that has ADHD or autism or whatnot that has not been vaccinated. So that's super interesting, right there. So not to get back into that area,
but it's true.
I just saw that this week and I was just like, wow.
But they won't let that study go public. You have to dig for that study. I've heard about that study. They won't publish anything about it in mainstream media at all.
Oh, no. Well, and it's interesting though too, because you can find some of these studies on PubMed, which is NIH.
Yeah.
But they're not publicized. Even some of the cancer research and the things that they found that help with cancer, you won't find that because it goes against, what they want you to go down, which is the chemo radiation path, and that's a whole nother topic for another day.
Yeah.
But but yeah, back to your skincare products, because that's kind of I think what we were talking about. But we've gone in a lot of rabbit trails. But I think it all ties together. It really does. It's just the awareness, making the choices. It's not about ditching everything at once. Like Leigh Ann said, I'm going to use the rest of my perfume because I like it and I paid a lot of money for it. Use that. And when you're done with that, you find something better. Because I know that was my path. I don't know where you started, Leigh Ann. I started in food.
Started
in food. Yeah. Then I was started looking at, I think cleaning products or personal care products. And then I was like, oh, wow. And then I was, as something, got used up, then I replaced it with something better. I researched it and I found that. So it's gone into all areas, even my animals.
Yeah.
I've been researching. I'm like, well, I wouldn't eat that, so I'm not giving it to my animal. I'm not giving it to my dog or my cat. And so, so they're eating better. And you know what? They've got a better quality of life and they're living longer.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the power of real food. I've seen the power of changing into using real stuff, real products.
Well, and another thing that I was talking about earlier, this isn't necessarily skincare, but it kind of is laundry detergent. So I thought we were doing really good because we were using the eco laundry detergent.
Ecover? Ecover or Ecos?
No, the Ecos out of Costco. It's it's not scented. It just smells like bubbles, blah, blah. And I thought we were doing okay. I thought we were doing really good with that. But one of the other changes that we made just in the last few months was we started washing our clothes in just straight white vinegar. And so our bed sheets are washed in vinegar, our pants and towels are washed in vinegar. And, it goes back to the itchy skin. I'm not itchy. I'm not having reactions to the cold weather like I usually have. And I think that has a lot to do with it because those toxins aren't in my clothes and just sitting on my skin all day long.
Yeah, it matters. And there's going in the same path, dryer sheets. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Because my husband would go to his men's group and he'd come home and I'm like, was it at so-and-so's house? And he's like, yeah, why? How do you know? And I'm like, because you smell like dryer sheets. And I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. But they also, it may not be the dryer sheets. It could be that Febreze. Do not use Febreze.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Do not use, oh my gosh, that stuff is terrible. But yeah, it'll like my sinuses will go crazy
right?
with that stuff. And yeah,
And it's
so
interesting
I
because it took a while for me to have those fragrances out of my house, right? We were doing
mhm,
the plugins until probably 4 years ago. So it took a little while for me to become super sensitive to fragrances, but today, yeah, same thing. Laundry detergents, when people walk by me and they've got Tide or whatever the laundry detergent is, I mean, it attacks my sinuses. It's like I get punched in the face.
it's overwhelming.
So
Yeah.
bad.
Well, just walking down that aisle in the grocery store, I'm like,
I
I
know.
gotta go. I need something in the middle. Oh no.
The funny thing is I used to love that aisle. I used to love walking down that aisle. It always to me, it just always represented a clean house, you know? And today,
Yeah.
we clean everything with vinegar and, I do use thieves because I'm trying to use up my thieves too, but, yeah, everything we clean with is just natural and essential oil based, and it just
Hmm. Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
not to
There's a
sit and smell those smells all day.
no. I mean that again. That's the fragrance, and it goes back to endocrine disruptors, and
Yeah.
I don't know. They probably affect your hormones too, but um, there's plenty of websites out there that you can DIY it. I mean, that's where I've started with, and I'll give you two. Mommypotamus is great, and so is Wellness Mama. They have
Yeah.
a huge amount of products you can just make your own,
Yep.
and it's so easy, and I guarantee it's quicker and cheaper than going to the grocery store and getting your product.
Absolutely.
So it's not that hard, and yeah,
It's definitely cheaper.
and
Definitely
yeah,
cheaper.
and as far as you were talking about the perfume, yeah, because I have some left, and I have not used them, and I'm just like I keep looking at them. I'm like I really should throw them out because I'm not going to use them. But just get a roller bottle and get some fractionated coconut oil or jojoba oil or whatever you know uh, oil is that you like. Not seed oil, please. And just put some oil in the bottle and put some different essential oils that you like, and that's it. Put it in your purse, put it in whatever, and it's
Easy peasy.
easy,
It
easy
really is
peasy.
easy. I think people are just afraid of doing it or they don't wanna do it, and I get that. I get that,
Yeah,
using plastic credit cards much easier than doing stuff on your own, but there's gonna come
yeah,
a time. I pray that this doesn't happen, but this is just the reality in today's world. There will come a time where you will watch someone that you love very much succumb to some form of disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, whatever, and
yeah.
hopefully, if you listen to this or any other podcast or other form of information that will teach you the toxins that we are exposed to every day, and I think it's really important that we touch back on Sheri said earlier, in our country, there's only 11 ingredients that are banned from use in our country, where there are thousands banned from use in other countries, and that right there should tell you something. We are exposed to way too many things on a consistent basis, and if you go look at the stuff that your kids are eating or their bubble bath that you're using when they're taking their
Oh my
baths,
gosh.
the lotions, like Johnson & Johnson gets sued all the time for the toxicity of their stuff. Their baby powder is highly flammable. Just pay attention to what you're putting on your kids. Pay attention to what you're putting on
Yeah.
yourself. If you really want your baby to have a clean butt, use cornstarch, I mean, just try to try to come up with something that is truly natural versus
Mhm.
these chemically produced products, because they are what is destroying our brains. They are a huge part of what is making our children dumber. And I hate to say it that way, but more and more states are starting to pass laws where children do not have to be smart to graduate high school. Oregon alone does not require, in the indigenous and minority population, they are not required to be able to read, write, or do math before they graduate from high school anymore. And that is, how are they going to survive in this world? And if you're living in any of those
Right.
communities, how are your children going to make it without relying on you? Or how are you making it without relying on someone if this is really the road that we're going down? So the more you allow your brain to thrive by taking these toxins away from it, the better your life is going to be. And I think the less
Mhm,
cloudy you're going to be, the more critical thinking you're going to have, the more
mhm,
awareness you're going to have. Because I do believe that
mhm,
part of the conspiracy behind all of this is to cloud our brains so we don't think for
mhm.
ourselves. It's easier to make us
Yeah,
into sheep if we have a cloudy brain.
yes. Brain fog is not normal. It is not
No.
normal. So don't even go there. And it's not like, oh, I just have, I'm over 60 now, so I have, or I'm over 50 or 40. Because I hear it at every age. It's like, oh, I have brain fog now, and it's like, no, you don't have to have the brain fog. You do not have to. And it is getting rid of the toxins. It really
Yeah,
is going to help
absolutely.
with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Senility used to be very rare and it used to be diagnosed in people who were in their late 80s and 90s. And now, you know, I am on all these Alzheimer's pages and people are diagnosed in their late 40s and 50s and dying in their 60s. And it's just so sad and so
It is
unnecessary.
sad.
So unnecessary.
It
But
really is.
to go back to God, I do agree with you. You know, if there are things that you can't not be exposed to, pray for God's healing. Pray for God's healing
Mm-hmm.
all the time consistently because
Oh,
that is where you
well,
will
and
be able to.
a protection around you.
Yeah.
Ask for that protection. That shield. Go back to putting on the armor. Because it's important. I mean, I armor up every day, so
Yeah.
go back and put your armor on. Um,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I had one verse that I
Yeah. Go ahead.
had it reminded me of too. It's 1 Corinthians 6:20, and it says, "For ye are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." So we're bought and paid for by God. So
Mhm.
we are to honor Him with our body.
Yeah.
Um, just baby steps. It's all about baby steps. Making small changes. They'll add up.
Yeah.
It really
I would
will.
encourage you to read the whole First Corinthians book. It appears that it
Hmm.
is really meant for us to understand how we need to care for our bodies, and maybe that will
Yeah.
help you to be more aware and more aligned with what God's purpose is for us and not what our country's purpose is for us because I guarantee you it's two very different things.
Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
would you like to pray us out today?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you again that you've brought us together and that we can learn and that you give us the ability to have the knowledge and to see clearly and to see what is good for us and what is not, and that you will give us the protection and keep us safe and keep our families safe. And we thank you for all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week. Let us know if you have any skincare remedies or DIYs that you'd like to share with our audience. Put them in the comments
Yeah, please.
below. Or if you are someone who would be interested in joining our podcast because you have some very valuable information, please contact us through Rumble, and we would be happy to talk to you about it. All right. Have a great day. We'll see
Yeah.
you next week. Bye.